stand with us, we're going to sing He Lives, which we introduced a few weeks back. And it just talks mainly about like just the center of how Jesus lives, and He's still here and all-knowing and with us. So I invite you to stand with us as we head into this song of worship.
Start the morning. Y'all can take a seat now as we hear a word from our lead pastor, Danny Cox.
This week marks the 1-year anniversary of the coronavirus starting to take root in our country. So just take a moment right now and think back. Where were you this time last year? You know, I was up in the mountains of Nepal, and we got a call over our phone to say, this is what's happening right now back at home. But I believe, like so many events in our history, that this one is one of those times where we will say to our children and our grandchildren and even our great-grandchildren, this is where I was when the pandemic began. And did you ever think that we would have experienced and seen all that we have through these 12 short or maybe very long months? From the start of the pandemic until right now, we have seen social and civil and racial unrest, political divides, and a tension-filled election, homes turned into classrooms and parents turned into teachers, office buildings empty but computer screens filled, our own church community going through leadership changes, and recent events in our country that continue to challenge us as a faith community and as a country. One amazing aspect I've witnessed as I look back over this year is the incredible faithfulness of Christ and his people. At every turn this past year, I have had the privilege to experience God's faithfulness, generosity, grace, mercy, power, hope, and his love through our community. Though all the challenges we have faced, I truly believe that the church rooted in Christ has had and will continue to have an opportunity to preach and to teach and to live the gospel in a unique way because of these times. You know, one of my professors and teachers, along with many other people, believe that this time is a beginning of a new era in history. I believe that as well. And if that is true, it brings with it many questions, but also many exciting opportunities for the work of God's kingdom. Around this time last year, we had started to close our buildings and started to shift to online services. For the first time in the history of Kensington, we did not gather publicly to celebrate Good Friday and Easter, but ironically enough, those services were probably one of the highest attended services with about 75,000 people watching and engaging online. This year's Good Friday service will be a haunting and yet beautiful experience, walking through the last hours of Jesus' life right up to his final breath on the cross. And it always gives us a time to remember and to lament and be grateful for the sacrifice Christ made for all people. And then, of course, Easter Sunday will be a celebration of how Jesus would overcome death to bring hope and joy to all who will believe. And because Jesus rose from the dead, his voice continues to call people today, calling them from their own tombs into eternal life. And so as I invite you to join us for Good Friday and Easter services, every year we ask you to download free tickets to these services. This ensures that we can accommodate the large number of people that will attend for this holiday weekend. And with COVID and our limited seating capacity to ensure health and safety, we still ask you to download your free tickets for the service that you and your family would like to attend. Now, if you haven't been back to church in a while, we've been doing free tickets for each weekend and each midweek service since we reopened all the way back in July of last year. Likely sometime later this spring, we will no longer be requiring tickets for our services, but for Good Friday and Easter, we're going to continue ticketing. Since July of last year, we have continually monitored and evaluated what's best for our community as we've been gathering live in our auditoriums. Over the next several weeks, moving into spring, we will be slowly and incrementally increasing our capacities and restrictions while still providing safe social distancing. We have met so many new families. This is the coolest thing to me. We've met so many new families that have been attending online this past year that are starting to show up to meet us in person. And many of our peak service times in our auditoriums are hitting capacity, which means that our communities really do want to come back and be together live. And so we are working hard to continue to do the work in a manner that lives out our core values. And we've based that really on Matthew 25, this verse that says, when we care for the least of our community, it's as if we're caring for Jesus himself. And we're going to hold on to that all the way through this pandemic. We've been so excited to see many of you on the weekends, and we look forward to us gathering more and more over the next few months. Well, speaking of gathering, this coming weekend, we'll be hosting our next Move Out gathering. It's one of my favorite events we do every year. If you've never attended in the past, I really do highly encourage you to take part in this unique event that equips us in one of our very core values, to move out into our neighborhoods and to areas of influence and show the tangible love of Jesus. This year's theme is God's heart for humanity. And we'll be looking at our own humanity and what it means to meet others in the dust and the dirt of light, yet discover Jesus in the midst of all we encounter in this human experience. This event is intricately connected to our Move Out network, which are ministries that are led by individuals in our community that are based around God-given and like-minded passions and talents. The Move Out Gathering is a 2-day event, which we're offering live and we're offering virtually. It will be hosted at our Kensington Troy campus and online Friday. This is going to be Friday, March 19th, and Saturday, March 20th. And we're going to have large group sessions as well as smaller breakout sessions that will include things like extreme listening skills and seeing others as image bearers of God, walking with the homeless, learning how to have multi-ethnic conversations, kingdom justice, and other very helpful, intriguing skills and ideas. So please go to our website, our app, any social media platforms, and find out more information. Over the past few years, there's a saying that I've become aware of, and recently some friends reminded me of again. The phrase is, what people resist or what people fear is not so much change, but loss. What people fear is not so much change, but loss. Individuals, families, communities, churches, cities, counties, states, countries, and the global community really have experienced lots of loss over these past 12 months. And in this season of Lent that we're in, as we're moving quickly towards Good Friday and Easter, I'm reminded of Jesus and the loss he so willingly endured going to the cross so that all people who would place their faith in Jesus would ultimately be able to gain everything. As all of us look back and lament aspects of all the changes that have happened these past 12 months, I'm praying that we can look forward with a hopeful expectation to all of what God has planned for the future. I'll tell you this, I am grateful for each and every one of you and in great debt to all of you who have given so much over this last year to make our Kensington community safe, loving, and life-giving to all our neighbors. I'm deeply thankful for the sacrifice of Jesus Christ and the resurrection that makes all of this possible. And as we start to see and smell and sense spring coming, I don't know about you, but this past week, those days that were in the 60s, wow. I pray during this time that hope starts to rise up in our hearts, in our minds, and in our souls. And this hope will inspire us to continue to lead courageously out of the darkness of the tomb and into the light of a new era. I hope you have a great week this week, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
You can clap for that, man. It's inspiring. I love Danny. I'm grateful. In the middle of this, he's a fantastic leader, and he's faithful to Jesus. And the opportunity as an interim to help just guide and lead Kensington Church as a whole, as we've had transition in our founding pastors with Steve Anders and Dave Wilson and Mark Nelson and stuff. And of course, man, when he gets to take the helm and there's a pandemic and so many things, and he's just been super faithful. And one thing for me, on a personal note, as a friend to him, and he died, it's reminding me of that at the end of the day, all you can find yourself to do when the world is like pressing down and things are changing all over the place is to be faithful. Because sometimes the world is just too much, too hard. But I love what he was sharing. I don't know about you, but hasn't it been great to have sunny days? And it's 60, and it's awesome. And I was on the phone a couple of days ago, and the guy, and he was in Florida, and he goes, yeah, I think I'm going to get out and jog today. And I go, dude, what is the temperature there? He's like, oh, it's 75, 78. I'm like, yeah, you better be jogging with no shirt on. I'm like, come on, man. And I'm like, I got short sleeves on. It's 50. He's like, oh, that's crazy. I'd have a hoodie on, I'm like, yeah, you wouldn't make it Michigan, buddy. But that's what we do. When it's 50, it's barbecue time. It's shorts time. It's T-shirt time. We're celebrating because we've been cooped up, right? Come on. There we go. It's my people in Michigan. Here. But it is beautiful. I was encouraged this past week, and I want you to be encouraged too in this moment, that you are part of, whether you've been just coming for a little bit and checking us out, or this is your home, your community. We're multi-campus. We're across here. We do church planning. We believe that God is on the move and doing good things, and we do look to the future, and we say we want to have hope. We want to rise up believing that, God, you're not done, that you're a real God and you impact real people in the real way with the real problems. Like, we are convinced of that. I'm convinced of that. And we had our men's Bible study, one of the Bible study groups had got together this week, and I had texted them later. I said, hey, I heard of a young lady. She's just 20 years old. She's in this little home trying to go to Oakland University, and her home's a little beat up, needs some repairs and stuff, and could you come around and help her? And like that, this Monday, they're all going over there. They're all going to help out. They're all going to do the repairs. They're all going to make a way for her. Is that unbelievable or what? I just thought, now that's worth celebrating too. Like, we get to be part of that. We get to watch over and look over and be part of this community and bring the love of Jesus Christ in a super practical, super real way. And I just love that because it reminds people. And my prayer is this, that the Monday afternoon, she's reminded that God's real and God's close. And God is saying, I love you. I'm not leaving you. I'm not going to let you do this on your own, that I'm going to bring community around you. It's beautiful. On that note, I would love to take our offering. And we do that, like, honestly, 90% of it's almost digital. And some of you may be opposed to digital, like my dad. He's convinced there's going to be a cyber scam or something's going to happen, but I'm like, no problem. So we have Home Depot buckets, I call them, in the back if you want to give that way when you leave here. But if you want to be generous and you want to be part of this work, and I would say that it's not about programs, it's about people. And the different ways you can give are there. You can do that now on your phone. You can do it on the app, on the website. You can do it later. But I just want to tell you, thank you so much for your generosity. Danny said it well, that we are indebted to that there have been so many of you that are faithful and you believe in what God's up to and what he's doing and what he's going to do in the future. And so we're grateful for that. And I want you to know that when you're part of that and you're giving, listen, you're part of that young woman's story on Monday. You are tethered and attached to that beautiful story and so many more like it. And so I just wanted you to know. Well, this week, we are in week number 5. We're following the life of Jesus because, honestly, it's kind of hard to find a better person to follow when you look around. I mean, you look at the polarization in the country, you look at political powers, you look at strong personalities, you look all over the place on media and through movies and Hollywood and wherever you want to go. And people let you down left and right. But he seems to be this figure that doesn't stop. He just keeps going, and he's unwilling to let you and I down. And so we thought, let's follow his life. Let's look at his life as we journey to Good Friday and Easter and watch the different things that occurred to him, the things that he did for others. And as we get closer, we're calling the series Personified, we actually get to see not just the divinity of Jesus, but the humanity of him. Because he was all God, we're convinced, we believe this, and all man. And he's both. And we get to see each side. So often we look to the divinity of Jesus because we're like, we need his power. I don't know about you, but I have so many moments I feel powerless. Like, I can't do this on my own. But when you really begin to look at the humanity of Jesus, you begin to realize he understands you. He can empathize with you. He gets you. He gets what you're going through in your week, in your day. And I don't know about everybody's week, but have you ever had weeks that are just like, woo, like you're glad it's done? Like, thank God it's Friday, like that week is done. Has anybody had a crazy week this past week maybe, or maybe the week before? That's all of us, okay. That might be a consistent theme across here, right? And this week it was like, man, our little one, I had the boys and our little daughter, and we were trying to change a diaper, and I went to take a diaper, and I went to throw it to one of the boys. I had it all bound up, threw it to one of the boys, and I'm like, catch this diaper, and they're like, nope, and the diaper like hits the ground, splats open. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then my wife makes this amazing dinner, and we get ready to have dinner, and everyone's like, I don't like this. I don't want this dinner. And we're like, no, you're going to eat the dinner. Mom worked hard. And then Maria's feelings are getting a little hurt over this and moment and stuff. We're like, no, just eat the dinner. And all of a sudden we're like, eat the dinner or you won't eat anything else the rest of the night. And you're going to go to your room forever and you'll never eat. And they're like, whoa. It's all this thing. And then my oldest son is getting ready for driver's training. He's like, did you sign me up for driver's training to get me in this class? We're going to help you drive. I'm like, you guys don't even care. You're never going to help me drive. I'm never going to leave. And I'm like, dear Lord, you're going to leave the house one day, son. I promise you. We're going to get you to driver's training, buddy. Don't you worry, right? And Maria looks over later at night and she goes, sometimes I just want to get a hotel. And I'm like, you and I? Like a hotel? She goes, no, just a hotel by myself, just to be totally silent and nobody talk to me or touch me, and I'm like, are you okay? What the heck? It's like, this is kind of weak. And we have these weeks and we have these moments, but there's this thing we're pressing in today, and this idea, and Jesus has this moment. He goes to this place, this garden moment, the Garden of Gethsemane, and he's there, and it's this crushing, crazy time where he begins to feel. We see him in his humanity carrying the weight of the world. There's a part of his divinity that we're saying, you created the world. You hold it in your hands. Like, you're unbelievable. But his human part is saying, but I'm feeling in this moment the weight of the world. And even this week, like, we have moments we laugh, and it's important for us to be able to laugh at the craziness of life. There are moments, though, this week that, just several that I've come across, like families saying, can you just pray for our family right now? We're really struggling. We feel like we're splintering apart. Marriages, that things, the pressure through this pandemic and the change and the uphill challenge to reemerge has put pressure and revealed things in their life that, like, we don't know if we can make it through this. Children, our children that we love and care about, trying to reintegrate. Seriously, if school wasn't difficult enough, our culture, and I know we're all saying we had peer pressure going up from my generation, maybe your generation, but this generation is facing pressures like never before. And then they get published on multimedia nonstop, so they never have to forget about the mix-ups and mess-ups and mistakes and mishaps they have. And it's nonstop, right? And so that's why, so you know, when you're giving to this place and you're part of this movement, we care about our kids. We love our K kids. We love our students. We love our middle schoolers and our college kids, and we love them. They're not just the next generation. They're the generation now that we come around, right? Like, we're there. We're with them. And they're struggling. People that have gotten diagnoses this week. Like, how do I face this? Bills that they don't know how to pay. Moments that are taking the breath out of their lungs when they try to walk in a room and they don't know if they can face tomorrow. Like, there's a pressure and a weight of this world. But we're trying to hold on in the middle of this, a truth. John 16:33, one of the disciples that we've been getting to know better and better, he says, here's what I know, though, about the guy Jesus that you guys are going to talk about today. He says that Jesus says, I've told you these things so that in me, the things that are the weight of this world, they're coming against you, may have peace. In this world, you will have, what's that word? Trouble. You can bank on it, right? But take what? Courage. I have overcome the world. Like, that's such good news. And he tells us that, but he's about to show us that. And so here we land today. We're on this journey with Jesus. This journey is tethering together all these several weeks that we're talking about, this series, Personified, the person of Jesus. Not just the divinity of Jesus, but the human side of who Jesus was too. And we go to this place called the garden. And so Jesus models this idea we're going to throw out is this, that we have to embrace the pain now for freedom later. That there are things that we would love to put our head in the sand and ignore and not address and just forget about, right? Are there not things that you would just love to forget about? Man, put it on the shelf, put it in the drawer, close it, put it in the junk drawer, be done. Let's be done with it. But we can't. And Jesus is modeling something, and he's going to lead the way by example. He's going to be the first to do this. He's going to embrace a pain now for freedom later. And as humanity, as we watch, we realize that he's doing this. Here's what's so beautiful. He's doing this for you and for I. He's not doing this for himself. He's not doing this to show off. He's not doing this for any other reason but for you and I. For every couple out there that's struggling. For every student out there that's trying to fit in. For every mom out there that feels like she's not enough. He's doing this for you. For every man out there that feels like he's not measuring up. He's doing this for you. For every person out there that feels like they're drowning in depression. He's doing this for you. He's doing this for us out of love. He's doing this. He's like, I'm going to embrace this pain now so that you can experience freedom later. And so this person, Jesus, I love this because I don't know about you, but for me, carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders, there's no way to live. In fact, you actually can't live that way. And so here we go. Here's this idea. Avoiding our problems never fixes our pain. Avoiding our problems never fixes our pain. It just doesn't. And we are a culture, we are a generation of denial. We deny, but so avoiding our problems never fixes our pain at all. And this happens all the time. Avoiding our problems just does not fix our pain. And sometimes we just try to tune them out. Somebody say, I'm just going to tune you out. I'm just going to turn you on. I'm just going to put you to voicemail. I'm just going to put your text on silent. I'm just going to tune it out. Sometimes it's good to have silence. Sometimes it's not when it's something you need to pay attention to. I got this Jeep Liberty. My white Jeep Liberty, I've had it for like 12 years. She's been with her family for a while. She's amazing. She's got a couple 100,000 miles on her, and she's my snow cat in the in the winter, and she's sleek and awesome and beat up and falling apart, but it's okay. And so my exhaust system was like getting louder and louder. My boys would be like, "Oh, Dad, it's loud," and I would just like turn the radio up. I would be able to tune that noise out and tune them out. It was great, and I was just doing that over and over. And one day we were down on Dixie, down where Dixie Highway, we were heading south, meets Williams Lake Road, and I pulled in really quick. They wanted to go to Tim Hortons, and I'm like, "No, I don't think so. Let's go to Tim Hortons." No, and I'm like, "Come on," and I'm like, "Oh," so I'm like ripping to Tim Hortons, and I hit this like little bump, and all of a sudden the exhaust kind of like split right there. The big pipe split, and it caught the ground, and it ripped off, and now it was like boom, 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 boom. And they're like, "Dad, can you hear that? Dad, you hear that now? Dad." And I'm like, I just turned the radio up a little louder. Didn't tune it out though. Finally get it over where I go back down by AC Tire, and it was almost a $500 fix, man. And the guy, later we picked it up, and he gets everything fixed, and he goes, "You know what?" I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Give me good news." He goes, "That would only been like $50 if you would have came in sooner." And I'm like, "Not good news, dude. Not what I want to hear." But our lives are the same way often. It's like we're hearing these things. We're hearing the noises of our life. The check engine light on your life is going off over and over and over again. You're just ignoring it. I'm not going to look at it. I'm not going to listen to it. I'm just going to forget about it for right now. And something's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, that's what life does. The weight of life, boom. It just like implodes, explodes, whatever way you want to describe it. It does that in our life all the time. And we're like, well, what are we supposed to do now? And here's the crazy thing. We have convinced ourselves of this lie. Like if I just avoid my problems, the pain will go away. Avoiding our problems never fixes the pain. It only gets worse. The pain is an indicator that something's going on that really is saying, you need help. You need to ask for help. You need to slow down. You need to stop. You need God. You need whatever is going through your mind, and we keep avoiding and avoiding. And we not only tell ourselves this lie, but maybe if I just keep avoiding it, ignoring it, it'll go away. It won't get worse. It's not going to compile. It's not going to exponentially get worse in my life. Yes, it will. Yeah, it will. I'd be lying to you if I told you it wouldn't. It totally will. And then we actually exchange this lie for the truth, and we convince ourselves until everything explodes, and then we go, what happened? How did that happen? What on earth? I can't believe we got this much in debt. Well, yeah, but you got statements every single month. I can't believe this is going on. I can't believe we're so, how did we get this far apart? Because you didn't try to incrementally come closer with your spouse. Where is God? Where's his voice? It's like, well, just take time every little day and just begin to ask God, are you with me? Can you hear me? I guarantee he'll say, yeah, I'm with you. And so this is this moment where we step in with Jesus. And he does this thing. He gives us this idea that's so different because it's something we don't do. I'm really convinced in our place where we're at here in our culture, it's always like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You can be stronger. You got it. Your best life now. Man, that's fine until life hits you in the face, right? Life sucker punches you, and then that just doesn't work at all. And so this idea is that a beautiful life, because we see on social media what a beautiful life looks like and stuff, but a beautiful life, it actually does this. It embraces the brokenness. It actually gets its arms around the broken pieces and gets honest about what's going on. It gets honest about the weight of life. It gets really honest about those things. And it's hard to do because we can feel embarrassed. We can feel ashamed. We can feel like I'm not enough. I'm not measuring up. I can't believe I'm failing. What everybody's going to think about me. Man, who cares? Because everybody's going to see it and everybody's going to know anyhow when everything explodes. And so it makes sense to begin to deal with this now. And we see Jesus in the garden, and it's so beautiful. We see him in this garden. He's at this place called the Mount of Olives. It's this big, amazing mountain range that separates Jerusalem, right? Even now you could go there and you could visit and see it. And we've actually wanted to take a trip to Israel. We're hoping to plan one, maybe not this year, but next year for sure, and take people from our community and go and experience the places that Jesus walked and Jesus talked and Jesus was baptized and all around. It would be fantastic, I think, to be able to do that. And this mountain range, which separated Mount of Olives, was one mountaintop. It was one spot on this range, and at the base of that mountain right there was the Garden of Gethsemane. It was this beautiful garden that would have olive trees in it. I want to show you a picture. This is most likely what it probably looked like. This is actually a picture of Justin Warren's, our Birmingham lead pastor, had shared when he was there in Israel. And it's this amazing garden. There's these olive trees, and they would take time. This is modern day thing right here I'm going to show you. This is like an olive cart right here. where they would actually collect olives and they would gather them. Obviously, that's not back in Jesus' day, or that would be insane if they had a tractor and we didn't know about it then. But that's then, and they would take these and they would crush these and they would push the pulp out of them and they would squish them, because here's what's really interesting about the garden. And it would make this what we all love, olive oil, right? You get your nice glass bottles, and you get them at Kroger, you can get them at Costco, you can get them at, wherever. And they would do this, and this has been going on for thousands of years. Obviously it's done a little bit better now, but for a long time. And the Garden of Gethsemane actually is really interesting. It means the olives pressing. It means the place of pressing, the place of weight. They would take these giant slabs, and they would get these olives down this base. They would smash these olives, and then they would bring them down to this other spot, and they would have these big slabs that would go boom on top of them, and it would just squeeze them and just push and press the oil right out of them. I mean, just absolutely smash them. And it's the place of pressing. And so it's so interesting in Matthew. It was when it says that they went from, the Mount of Olives to the Garden of Gethsemane. The readers in that day would know that Jesus, has been at his Last Supper. We've seen this. He's washing the feet of the disciples, serving the people that are going to betray him. We saw last week where he's sitting around at a table next to Judas, who's got 30 pieces of silver burning in his pocket. Peter wanting to know what's going on, getting ready. Peter's getting ready to betray him. All these people that Jesus is, you think you'd want to punch these people in the face, but Jesus Christ is bringing them closer. It's crazy because he loves them. And now he's going to the place of pressing, where it's only going to get heavier. The weight of the world's only going to become more on his shoulders. And so I want to take you in this moment as we talk through this. It says this: then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, which we just talked about. And he said to them, sit here while I go over there and pray. He took Peter and the two sons, Zebedee, along with him. That would have been John and James. And he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Now think of these words. Then he said to them, my soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. Can you imagine if somebody called and said, I am beside myself. I don't even know what to do. I am overwhelmed. Overwhelmed is an understatement of what I'm feeling right now, my soul. And it's not just like when you're sick to your stomach, just from the stress of this life, and it's overwhelming you, and it's like in your soul. It's in the very inside of you that you can't get out, you can't deal with, you can't fix it. Like something, this is weight that Jesus is going through, because he knows he's going to have to bear the weight of the world for these people. He says, going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed. Think about this. When the wind is sucked out of you because life hurts so bad. My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will. Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. Couldn't you men just keep watch with me for an hour? Asked Peter. This is insane. Your best buds, and they're falling asleep in his worst hour. He went away a second time and prayed, my Father, is it not possible for this cup to be taken away? Think about the humanity of Jesus. He knows this is what he's got to do, but he doesn't want to what? Do it. We've all been there. To be taken away unless I drink it. May your will be done. When he came back, he found again them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. And it goes again. So he left them and went away once more, and he prayed a third time, saying the same thing. Let this cup pass if it will. Now this is the spot, I think, Tim, we have the other picture of Jesus praying in the garden, do we? That one? No, we don't. Never mind. Don't worry about it then. You can look it up on Google later or right now. So, and it's this one where it's like, we've seen Jesus in the garden. His hair just looks like sweet GQ. Clothes are awesome, shining white. And that's how we envision this God. But that's not what's going on. Look in Luke 22:44. Luke says, I'm just going to insert Luke for a moment. Matthew and Luke are his followers. They're his friends. They love him. And Luke says, I saw this. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. I want to show you this phrase. Put this up. This drops of blood. The next one, the definition, Tim. I don't know if we can pop that up. I'm going to butcher this word, so forgive me if I do, and you can correct me later. Hematohydrosis. I felt like I did that decently. I've messed it up all morning, but okay. These are the capillary blood vessels that feed the sweat glands, and they break down. Blood released from them vessels mixes with the sweat. Therefore, the body sweats drops of what? Blood. And this phenomenon occurs under conditions of extreme physical or emotional stress. The weight of the world. Jesus is feeling in this moment the weight of the world. And he's just, and he's asking I'm just got to pray. He falls down because I can't even catch his breath to pray. And he's like, Father, can this pass? Man, I don't want to go through this. I don't want to deal with this. I don't even want to think about it anymore. God, can I just go away? Will you make it go away? Well, let's stop, right? We've been there. We are human. We know what this feels like. The pain of facing something that we don't want to face, that we know why, because we can't even deal with it. Like the weight's too much. And we need help, and we're asking, and the people around us, this picture that are supposed to have our back are falling to the wayside, and Jesus has no point. He just turns to the Father. He's even modeling this moment that life will bring you to your knees. And when it does, look up, because the Father is there and listening. He's communing. I love that he models this. And go back to Matthew, and he says this. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, are you still sleeping in rest? Are you kidding me? Like, I mean, if any lesson is to be taught here, people will let you, down. But the Father, man, causes us to look up and says, I'm not done. I'm with you in the middle of this. And Jesus is sitting here, and it's crazy. Like, his preference is, let the cup pass if it would. Like, let it go if it's possible to pass. But there's this greater purpose. Like, the weight of this world is just pressing down on him like crazy. My wife has this amazing job she gets at House of Providence. She's their contingent nurse, and she works with them, and they do this beautiful work where they come along amazing children and amazing teenagers that have families that love them but just are not able to care for them in these moments in their life. And so House of Providence comes around these children that are in foster care and loves them and cares for them. And some of them play on a little basketball team, and we saw some yesterday. And I was telling my boys, because of this place where they're playing basketball, I used to play basketball there, and I was telling them how I used to be nervous and a little bit worried before a big game, man, right? Everybody would be in the crowds and all sorts of stuff, and I would be like nervous. And I saw this young little girl walk in. She had a little jersey, and I could tell she was kind of like this, and she was just nervous, looking around. In that moment, I just thought, my heart began to empathize for her, not because of the nervousness, because of a basketball game, but the nervousness she probably felt from the weight of the world. The weight of not knowing what's going to happen with her family, what's going to happen with her future, what's going to happen. And I began to think at that moment, just like the weight that some of you feel, even now, and you've gotten so awesome at disguising it. And this weight is just like crushing down. And for some of you, it's got you feeling like a little child, like that little girl just sitting there. And just you look on the outside like everything's fine, but at the inside, it's weighing down. I know it is. I mean, I just know it is. We have got the sweet people that we love in our community that are facing and going through things right now that are just unbelievable. They just are unbelievable. So you wouldn't even believe it. And if you see them, everything looks like it's going okay, and this weight is pressing down. And Jesus, he empathizes. He understands us. I want to show you this verse, that Psalm 34:18, that says, the Lord is this. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted, and he saves those who are crushed in spirit. And I promise you this, that God is super close to us when we feel like just everything is like just going sideways and everything is out. Like God actually is so intimate, so close in this moment. He's with us. And it's interesting, there was a person that I just said in conversation, said this pandemic, it's revealed some of our pains and our spots that were already pretty weak, you know? This happened to me like about 6 weeks ago. I was leg pressing a bunch of weight, thought it was awesome, told my son, I'm like, whatever you do, stretch. And you know what I did not do before the workout? Stretch. And all of a sudden I heard like tearing fabric. Like, it was my groin. So horrific, like crazy. It's like, but in the doctor, I remember saying it probably revealed already minor tears that you had from working out and not taking care of them. And you put enough weight on and enough pressure where it just tore. Isn't that wild to stop and think about? Like you have these, when enough pressure is placed upon you, it actually just causes the major tear, the major collapse of whatever it is in your life. And it's like, sometimes like this, we just think of, well, if we just keep avoiding our problems, they'll go away. And it's like this backpack. This backpack doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's a big deal. And trying to carry it away because it's got like 50 pounds of weights in it, right? And so the backpack, if I just try to carry this around, I'm just like, hey, how's everything going? Not bad. And this is kind of what you look like. You're like, how are you doing great, you know what I mean? And you're walking kind of sideways and you're not doing great. It's like you've got the stress of life, and you got the stress of marriage, and the stress of kids, and the stress of this, and the stress of that, and the weight's beginning to get heavy, and you're kind of like, switch arms. And then you got to switch arms again, and going back and forth, and it's just like crazy. And you're trying to carry this in life, and then you're trying to run and keep up at work, and you're like, I got to get this thing done by this deadline. I got the kids over here now again, and I got to do this, and we got to do that, and you're hustling, and now you're sweating, and right? Like, this is like life. And don't you ever wish you could just do this? Just let it go. I was like, oh, don't break the floor, by the way, in this. Like, you could just let it go. Because you're doing this, you're sitting around, you're trying to carry this. I'm telling you, if you don't think this is heavy, come grab this afterwards. And you're trying to carry all this weight around. And it's insane. Like, we weren't designed to carry all that weight that life has on top of us all the time. It's too much. And this is what's so beautiful. That Jesus goes to this garden. He embraces, right? We said this. He does this because he knows us. He knows that a couple things about us. Like, why would Jesus go to the garden and do this? Because he knew that we would avoid our problems, thinking our pain will go away. And so Jesus embraces the pain now for future freedom for you and I. Look what Hebrews says right here. It says, therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and sin that clings so closely. And let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the sake of the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame, and taken his seat at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such hostility. Think about this. He's in this garden, and next week we're going to talk about this full betrayal, and he's going to be put in handcuffs, and he's doing all this for you and I. But you and I are standing around, and we're trying to carry the weights. And the author of Hebrews is saying, let the weights and the sin that are easily tangling you up and stopping you from existing in this world the way God wanted you to do this, let them go. And he said, consider him. Who? Jesus. Why? For the joy set before him. He's saying, let go of that weight. Let go of that weight and come to me. He's saying this, and here's just a couple thoughts about this. Jesus did this. What did Jesus do? Jesus embraced the burden for you and I. Why? For the joy set before him, for you and for I. He did this because he loved us. I mean, stop and think about your children if you have kids, or your grandkids, or people that you really care about. Like, you would help them. Like, if they were walking down the street, like with a big box and about to fall over, wouldn't you go over and help them, right? Well, if you wouldn't, you're kind of a jerk of a friend or parent. You know, I'm just kidding. Like, you would do that for them. Jesus is like, man, the weight of the world's going to be crushing down on her shoulders. The weight of the world's going to be crushing down on his shoulders. I've got to do this. I got to take one for the team. I've got to embrace this burden. I know there's no way that he could. I know that there's no way that she could do that. There's no way. And they're trying to hold on to this weight, and he's like, just let that weight go. There's a guy named in Michigan, in Ypsilanti, a guy named Ryan Belcher. He works out at, it's just so crazy. A guy works out at this big gym. He's this powerlifting guy and stuff. And he was over off Michigan Avenue where he works one day, and there was a crazy car accident, and they all heard it in work. And so he instantly, his heart starts racing, and he runs out. He runs out, and he sees this Jeep that's flipped over, and this one lady, he pulls her from the Jeep, and the other part of the Jeep, the way it fell, it actually landed on this gentleman right here, and he was pinned. And he's yelling for help, and Ryan goes, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do we do? And he gets down, and he squats down, and he grabs this car, and everyone's like that. There's no way, like, you're strong, but there's no way it's going to work. And the guy's like, help me, just screaming and helping. I watched the news article and read it about it and stuff, and he gets down, he lifts this thing up, man, lifts this up, and these other guys drag him out, and they drop, and they're like, oh my gosh. And the guy was sitting there that was rescued by him was like, I can't believe. He goes, that was like a miracle. He goes, who would have thought that I would have crashed right where like one of the strongest power lifters would have been working and come out? I mean, stop and think about that. How could you even have planned that? You couldn't have. That's like God. And this is what we're missing, and we have to see about this moment. Like, Jesus is there, and he's like, I'm embracing the burden because I know you can't. Drop the weight. Like, just let it go. Hopefully that's a concrete floor, right? Let it go. Just be done with it. But look at this next part. So what do we do? What's our part in this thing? Just two quick thoughts. We've got to let go of the burden by embracing the burden carrier. Look what it says here. Let us lay aside every what? wait, let it go, man. And the sin that clings so closely, let us run with perseverance the race marked before us, looking to who? Jesus. Just, I just need your help. God, I can't carry this weight anymore. I can't do this with this. It's not possible. I can't do this. How do I do this? Admit you need help. Come out of denial. And I've been through a step study and part of this addiction rehab program, and it's like the number one thing you need to do is this. You listen to me because I'm telling you the truth because I've done it, is step out of denial and be honest and say, I need help. I got a problem. Admit you have a problem. Admit you need help. Ask for help. Brene Brown, a brilliant, amazing author and professor, wrote a book called The Power of Vulnerability. If you ever want to read it, have an awesome read. She's a Christian author. She's amazing. Is this power of vulnerability, this ability to actually just say, I got to be totally vulnerable and totally honest with you guys. I'm really struggling. I'm really a mess. Our marriage is really broke. I'm 15 years old and I'm really struggling, right? Like whatever person, whatever age, doesn't matter. I'm really broken. I'm really struggling in this moment. I could really use help. Can you guys help me? I need help right now. Like just asking for help and being honest. And you'd be so surprised how many other people would say, I'd be honored to help. I'd love to come along with you. Like this is this amazing thing too, because the yoke of Jesus is easy and his burden is light. It's like this divine exchange when we drop the heaviness of this world and the burdens that are in our life. The burden carrier picks them up and he exchanges to us this, an easy yoke, a light burden, because he loves us. And this is the second part God calls us to do, and I want to invite a friend up as we do this, is we surround ourselves with burden carriers. So look at this final part of the verse says. Right there, I want to go to Hebrews. It says, therefore, look at the language. It's communal. It's community. It's all of us. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that clings to us, and let what? Us run with perseverance the rate that is set before what? Us. This is all of us. Online, here, our community. All of us. Let us drop the weight and let go. I wanted a friend of mine to come up and kind of share today, just for a few minutes, Jeremy Barnes. Give Jeremy a big hand, because I coaxed him and bugged him and wanted him to be able to pop up together here. And so, man, I appreciate you coming up.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
yeah, absolutely. And so, I wanted you to be able to share a little bit, because sometimes it's one thing if I say it or Davey sings about it or Jill and Tim are talking about it. We have staff members and you're like, oh, you guys get paid to do that, right? And it's like, no, we believe this, but it's like, I want you to know, like, God's a real God working in a real way in real people's lives all the time, just like yours.
Yeah.
Jeremy is a phenomenal guy. And so you guys have got Anna, your wife. You guys have been married for a while. And oh, there we go, waving you. He goes, Dad, I love that. You got your own fan club over there, man. That's fantastic. And you guys have another one. If 3 wasn't enough, you got another one on the way, too. You got 4, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys going to do 5 or 6, you think? Or?
I
I'm
think
just
we're-
kidding.
I
You don't have to answer that right now. I'm just totally messing around, you know. Anna, I told him I'd tell you. So, yeah, no, I'm just kidding. No, but I just wanted you to be able to share a little bit. And Jeremy had said this was going to be harder for him to get up. I get up, I yap all the time. I mean, Maria always tells me to shut it sometimes, you know. But Jeremy is more quiet and solemn. So this is a big deal for him to be able to share with all of you. But like we always say, we're a family on mission.
Yeah.
We're not perfect. We're a mess. But we're on mission together. And we know Jesus loves us and is for us. And he's going to lead us. And so that's why, you know, you're up here. And so I'd love for you just to kind of, the first question we talked about, what was it like? Just kind of describe some of the burdens or weights in your life that you've had to carry, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey, right? I struggle with alcoholism coming up. I saw it in my family growing up. It was normal, right?
Yeah.
It was just a thing, and that was one of my biggest, I guess, burdens or weights that I struggled with for a long time. And then, financial, and now as an adult, financial stress, work stress, job
Yeah.
security, COVID, being a good parent, a good leader for my kids.
Yeah.
I mean, those are things.
What was it like the one of the bigger first burdens that you went through, the alcoholism? What was that like? You tried to resolve it on your own. You did 12 steps. You did some things. But when you were 22 at all, when you thought you had a hold of that weight, carrying that, but everything kind of came crashing to a head. I think you said when you were around 22, right?
Yeah. So like I said, I struggled with alcohol from a young age, right? I think I took my first drink when I was around 12 or something. we were camping and sneak a drink here or there.
Yeah.
Dad wasn't looking, right? So, and it just, progressively got worse. I moved to Michigan when I was 15, to fit in. I was new to a high school, trying to fit in, make friends.
Yeah.
I was able to get alcohol and provide that. And, so I was a cool guy at that point,
Yeah.
right? I could provide that out for everybody. So, and, going through high school, I got in trouble in high school. I was a decent wrestler, and I basically lost any chance I had to go to college for wrestling. So
Because of the alcohol.
because I got a DUI in high school, and so instead, in lieu of probation, I talked with the judge, and I went to the Marines. Right?
Yeah.
So and it didn't really get better at that point. We were Marines, and we do what Marines do in the barracks and on campus, and it just progressively got worse. I got in trouble, while I was in the Marines. I'd gain some rank, I'd lose some rank. I ended up, getting out after 4 years, and I'd come home, and it was basically, at that point, I was 22, and I decided that, I got another DUI when I came home, and that last time those jail doors slammed was basically, I was not going to take another drink. So.
As a wake up, you were there 30 days, weren't you? Or something you said.
So that was just the actual arrest that
Okay.
night, right? I got out, so I went and then I got arraigned and everything, and I was going through sobriety court and doing all the things, and doing the 12 steps and
Yep.
acting as if I surrendered to God and appeasing the court and doing the things that you needed to do to get through sobriety court, but really I was still leaning on my own will,
Yeah.
right? And so I was, falsifying documents, and I ended up violating probation. So that's where I ended up in Oakland County Jail for 30 days.
It was that moment. It was in those moments when the weight
Yeah.
had crushed you, and you finally got to the point where you're like, okay, God.
Yeah. So I sat in jail for 30 days. There's not much to do in jail, if you didn't know, besides read and work out. And so I did both of those quite a bit. I was reading the Bible, and trying to figure my life out and how I fit, and I kind of come to a realization that I needed God. I was still obviously 22 years old, strong-willed, that I could do anything myself.
Yeah.
Right? But I was just kept reading. I started, once I got out of jail, I was going to church, and about that time, I don't know. I still was not fully vested that,
Yeah.
This was, God was the way for me to go. I was half in, half out.
Yeah.
So I think that's.
It brought it, but you finally, the Lord helped you in that, man, because you've been, how many years have you been sober now?
It'll be 19 in August.
That's awesome. That's incredible. And you found, through that, as we were talking, and he's one of our men's study. We meet every other Tuesday morning at 6 in the morning, because we're crazy. I don't know if we're smart for that early, but we do that, and there's more, and you and I both know, and we all know this. The weight of life and the burdens of life keep coming. But there's something in those moments when you finally realize, I can't do this on my own. I'm going to give this alcohol to you, Lord. And God, you're going to carry the weight of that for 19 years and 19 more years and 19 after that, right. Lord willing, right? And what are some just the other things you've shared, just talking about like finances or just trying to perform or, keep up with things? What do you do with those? So all these other pressures that we all have, do you find yourself surrendering those all the time, every day?
Yeah, so I think that's been my, especially the Bible study that we started, right? That's been a huge point for me. I've really been digging into the Bible app,
Yep.
not the Bible itself, because it's obviously convenient for me, because I can listen to it, because I'm a slow reader. So, but daily, I'm doing study plans on Uverse app. I'm reading, different scriptures, and it's just helping. And I'm every day I'm praying that, whatever's on my heart, he can take.
You can take.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I love that. What do you do? I'm telling you, the real deal, dude. I believe that. I've been watching you do that and watching you as we're coming together. And what are some things you would tell if we talk about this? It's not just giving the burden to Jesus, but I think, and we're noticing that as we come together as guys, and we talk about this, how do we face our demons and deal with them, and how do we dream together? God, places you want to take us, things you want to do. And we're giving those burdens to the Lord. And what would you encourage people to do that you're doing? Like, what are some people, you bring people around you, you bring people on your journey with you, you and Anna do.
Yeah, so I mean, it's you need a community. I mean, that's the only way to get through it, right? I mean, God is everything, but being in a group or small group or and being able to share that. I mean, it's strange. I mean, because that's one of my struggles is communication.
Yeah.
So and it's weird that I can communicate with a group of strangers, right, per se, and do that, but I can be at home and not say it. We could be sitting this close and not say a word, right? Because I don't know, it's just insecurities.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, meeting Anna, it was love at first sight.
For her,
on
right?
her side, yeah,
Yeah, of course,
obviously,
yeah.
just like
She's
you.
holding your child carefully. We might.
But you guys, the 12-step study, or the 12 guys that we have in the group, and this place. I mean, it's a release, and it helps. I mean, you need to be here and get into the Bible, get into community, get into a small group. It helps.
That's awesome, man. Dude, I'm thankful for our friendship so much, and I believe in you, and I'm proud of you for doing this. I know this was tough to get up and do this. And I'm proud of you for modeling to me to let Jesus carry the weight of my burdens in my life, and that we dream and that we come around one another. This is what we do. We give Jesus the burdens, and then we bring other burden carriers with us too, and then we begin to dream and we move forward. I love that. I wanted to share just this verse to you, John 16:33, and then we're going to pray, and we're going to let Davey and the team lead us in this moment. It's what I said at the beginning of this. Jesus goes to the garden. He embraces this burden that nobody could carry but him, and he does it out of love for you and I. And he's telling the disciples, John says this about him. I've told you these things. He's like, I'm showing you things, but I'm telling you these things too. So that in me you may have what? Peace. Because in this world you will for sure have what? Trouble. But take courage. It was courage for you to get up here and do this. I know it was. But you know that he's so strong and he carries our burdens. It's going to be courage to bring a fourth child in the world, but he can carry that burden. It's going to be courage for you and Anna to move forward in whatever is next that you dream about, but take courage. It's going to be burdensome for you and I to embrace the next steps of whatever God's inviting us into to deal with or dream about, right? But take courage because he's overcome the world, man. This is what's awesome. When we meet every other Tuesday morning, we can say, take courage because he's overcome the world. Take courage because he's overcome the world. We get to do that together. We don't have to do this alone with him and with one another. Can you imagine if people start saying, what's going on with Jeremy? Somebody goes, Jeremy Barnes is on stage talking. Someone's like, no, the guy's quiet. Not when Jesus is carrying his burdens. I love you, dude. Love Anna, love your family. I just want to pray for you and let them lead us. Father, we ask you this, that you would give us courage, that we can take courage. We can literally take and get courage from you in peace, that we know we got trouble, but we're going to take courage over trouble because you overcame the world. I mean, the weight of the world was on your shoulders and you embraced it because you love us. Thank you, Christ. May you bless our community. And as we sing, and as we run to you, God, Jesus, I pray that you just give us courage in 2021 as a community to keep trusting you. Will you do that, Jesus, in your name? Amen. Thanks, Jeremy, man, for coming up. Love you.
During the song, I'd love to just encourage you to just sit and let the words wash over you. Just sing and run to the Father. And I'd love to challenge you to just sit with the Lord in this moment while you listen to these words and think about the own burdens on your life and on your shoulders. And just see if you can hear Jesus beckoning you to lay it down at his feet, to let him be the one who bears that weight. And I've carried a burden for too long on my own. No, I wasn't created to bear it alone. I hear your invitation to let it all go. Yeah, I see it now. I'm laying it down, and I know that I need you. Run to the Father, fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, oh, oh. You saw my condition, had a plan from the start. Your son for redemption, in the price for my heart. And I don't have a context for that kind of love. I don't understand, can't comprehend. All I know is I need you. I run to the Father, fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to the Father again and again. I run to the Father, fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart found a surgeon, my soul found a friend. So I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, 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 again and again. Oh, again and again. Oh, again and again. Man, my prayer, my hope is that we could just open our hearts to that. That we wouldn't let our ego or our pride or our loneliness or isolation get in the way of laying it down. I pray that you would hear so clearly his invitation to take on his new burden, which is light and will never put anything ill-fitting on you. Jesus, we thank you that you carried the burden of the world and all of our sin so that we would not have to. Thank you, Jesus. I'd love to invite you guys now to stand with us as we sing this last song, Take Courage. Grace is going to lead us. And that you would know that he is inviting you to rise up in his victory. That, like that verse in John says, take courage, hold on to the hope that is Jesus Christ. We have the incredible opportunity to put all of our hope in the name and power that is Jesus. There is nothing like it, no love like it, no name like his. He is the hope of the world, the hope of all glory, and the only thing that we can hope in that will never fail. Join me.
Slow down, take time, breathe. So take courage, my heart, and stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. And hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. Oh. Sing praise, my soul, find strength in joy. Let his words lead you on. Do not forget his great faithfulness. He'll finish all he's begun. Take courage, so take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Yeah. Hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. Oh, take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. And you hold the stars, who call them each by name, will surely keep your promise to me that I will rise in your victory. And you hold the stars, who call them each by name, will surely keep your promise to me that I will rise in your victory. Take courage, my heart, and stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. And hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. Take courage. Take courage, my heart, and stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope, let your triumph unfold. He's never failing. Oh, he's never failing. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. And hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. Oh.
Beautiful reminder. Grace, I love your passion. Are we not one of the most fortunate places to not just have an amazing intern, but I'm telling you, she follows Jesus, and she'll tell you Jesus first, and you've been modeling that for our community in a beautiful way, because it's not about our gifts or what we're doing, and they ain't much, but it's what Jesus Christ does. And he's in the waiting, and he's not giving up, And he's behind you and I, and he's for us. He's not against us. And he's looking right at us. He's saying, follow me, and I'll show you great and amazing things. Follow me, and we'll go places, right? Come on, Kensington, Clarkston. Follow me. Let's dream. Follow me into the future. This is that Jesus, embracing the burden, loving us every step of the way in his journey. Oh, we love you. And we want to be a community just like what you saw with Jeremy and I. We want to be that. We want to be able to connect, to encourage one another, and help bear one another's burdens, because that's what God called us to do. And it's beautiful, and it makes us better, and it makes our community shine brighter. It truly does. Online, on site, wherever you are, we love you. And greater than that, the God of the universe loves you beyond anything you can imagine. God bless. Have an incredible day. Take care.